The hospital room was silent, except for the soft, rhythmic hum of the machines that kept little Noah alive. The pale winter sunlight filtered weakly through the blinds, casting stripes of gold across the white sheets. His mother Emily sat beside him, her fingers trembling as they brushed through the baby's soft brown hair. Noah was only 10 months old, fragile, tiny, and fighting for a life that had barely begun. The doctors had done all they could. The word terminal had become a ghost that hovered over them, silent but suffocating. Emily hadn't slept for days. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her heart breaking a little more with every beep of the monitor. She whispered lullabies to him even when he couldn't hear, kissed his forehead even when he didn't respond. Her husband Daniel tried to stay strong, but strength fades when hope begins to die. The once bright smiles they shared had been replaced by the blank stares of two parents waiting for the unthinkable. But fate, or something far more mysterious, was already on its way. In the same hospital, down the hallway, a team of therapy dogs were being prepared for their daily visits. These dogs had become small miracles for patients, wagging tails that could melt pain, warm eyes that made loneliness vanish for a moment. Among them was a large, dignified German shepherd named Rex. He wasn't like the others. While most dogs loved to jump, play, and lick everyone they met, Rex was quiet, observant. His handler, Sarah, often said, "Rex feels things deeper than any human I've ever met." That morning, Rex had been restless. He paced near the door, ears twitching, eyes fixed on something unseen. Sarah gently tugged his leash, but he refused to move. Then suddenly, as if pulled by an invisible force, he turned sharply down the pediatric ward corridor. Sarah sighed. He wasn't supposed to go there without permission. But something about his determination made her follow. They reached room 207, Noah's room. Rex stopped at the door and began to whine softly. Inside, Emily lifted her head, startled. She saw the big shepherd sitting silently in the doorway, his golden brown eyes locked on her baby. Sarah quickly apologized, explaining that Rex never behaved like this. But Emily, perhaps desperate for anything that could bring warmth into that cold space, whispered, "It's okay, he can come in." The moment Rex entered, something changed. The air in the room felt lighter. He walked slowly toward the hospital bed, as if he knew exactly how fragile the little being lying there was. Emily held her breath. Rex rested his massive head gently on the edge of the bed and looked at Noah. His eyes softened, his tail gave a faint wag, and then he let out a deep sigh, a sound that felt almost human. Noah's tiny fingers twitched. Emily gasped. For days her baby hadn't moved voluntarily. She leaned closer, her tears falling onto the sheets. Rex stayed perfectly still, his nose just inches from Noah's hand. Then it happened. The baby's small fingers curled weakly around the dog's fur. Time froze. Emily covered her mouth, sobbing. The machines continued their quiet rhythm, but for the first time in weeks, there was life in Noah's movement. Rex didn't move. He simply closed his eyes and exhaled softly, as if transferring his strength into the frail child before him. From that moment on, Rex refused to leave Noah's side. Every day, Sarah brought him back to the room, and every day he lay beside the bed for hours. Doctors couldn't explain it, but Noah's vitals began to improve slightly. His oxygen levels stabilized, his heart rate grew stronger. It wasn't a miracle on paper. It was something deeper, something beyond the realm of medicine. Word began to spread throughout the hospital. Nurses came to see the miracle shepherd who had touched the dying baby. Even doctors who were hardened by years of clinical distance paused at the door, moved by what they saw. A dog and a baby sharing a quiet, unspoken language of hope. One night, Emily sat beside the bed as Rex slept on the floor. She whispered softly to Sarah, "When I see him with Noah, I feel like he understands everything, like he knows what's happening." Sarah smiled sadly. Rex has been through a lot. He was once a rescue himself. Maybe he just recognizes pain and chooses to heal it. That night, a storm raged outside. Rain beat against the windows, thunder rolled in the distance. Noah stirred in his sleep, tiny sounds escaping his lips. Rex lifted his head instantly, alert. He climbed gently onto the side of the bed, his nose pressing near the baby's heart. Emily watched, half afraid to move. Rex stayed like that all night, protective, silent, loyal. By morning the storm had passed. A single ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, landing directly on Noah's bed. When Emily woke, she found Rex still there, his eyes watching over her son like a guardian. Noah's color looked better, his breathing steadier. She smiled through tears, whispering, "Thank you, boy. Thank you." Over the following days, Noah began to respond to sounds again. He squeezed his mother's finger, smiled faintly when she sang, and even let out a small giggle when Rex licked his toes. Nurses cried in the hallway. Strangers brought gifts. The story spread beyond the hospital, first through social media, then through news outlets. Headlines read, "A German Shepherd visits a dying baby. What happens next touches the whole world." People from every corner of the globe sent messages, prayers, and letters to the family. They said Rex reminded them that love doesn't always need words. Sometimes it's felt in the quiet presence of a friend who refuses to leave your side. But just as hope began to bloom, tragedy struck again. One morning, as Sarah brought Rex for his daily visit, she found doctors rushing toward Noah's room. Alarms blared, nurses moved fast, and the hallway filled with tension. Emily's screams echoed as the medical team worked frantically to stabilize the baby. Rex tried to run inside, but Sarah held his leash tightly, tears filling her eyes. "Not now, boy. Please," she whispered. But Rex barked, loud and deep, a sound that reverberated through the walls. It wasn't anger, it was desperation. It was as if he knew. When the doctors finally stopped, the room fell silent again, the kind of silence that no parent ever forgets. Emily collapsed to the floor, her cries echoing through the ward. Rex whimpered softly, his body trembling as he sat by the door. They said Noah was gone. But as the hours passed, something happened that no one could explain. Sarah led Rex into the room one last time. He climbed onto the chair beside the hospital bed, lowering his head close to Noah's still chest. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then Rex let out a soft howl, low, haunting, filled with pain and love. And then the monitor beeped. Emily's eyes shot open. The doctors rushed in, stunned to see faint signs of life returning. Noah's heart, weak but beating, had come back. Rex stayed there, unmoving, his eyes fixed on the baby as if guarding the fragile miracle he had just summoned. The doctors couldn't explain it. Emily didn't try to. She just fell to her knees and held Rex's head in her arms, sobbing, "You saved my son. You saved him." From that day, Noah's recovery became steady and real. It wasn't instant, but every day he grew stronger. Rex became more than a therapy dog. He became part of their family. The story of the dog who brought a baby back to life spread across the world. People wept, smiled, and shared it millions of times. And in every home where the story was told, hearts softened, faith rekindled, and love, in its purest form, felt real again. As Emily once said later in an interview, holding Noah in her arms while Rex sat loyally by their side, sometimes angels don't have wings. They have fur, 4 legs, and eyes that see our souls. Months passed since that night, the night when death stepped back and life took a fragile breath again. The hospital where it all happened had changed in a way no one could quite explain. It wasn't the machines or the medicines, it was the air itself. Nurses smiled more, doctors lingered to chat, and even the sterile corridors seemed warmer somehow. Everyone whispered about the miracle baby and the dog who defied fate. Little Noah had grown stronger. His cheeks, once pale as snow, now carried the soft blush of health. His eyes followed the world around him with innocent curiosity, and every morning his laughter filled the ward like music. Emily would often sit by his crib whispering, "You were gone once, my love. And he brought you back." Beside her lay Rex, the loyal German Shepherd, always close enough to watch, always calm, as though he understood his mission was not yet complete. Rex had become a hero overnight. Newspapers across continents printed his face, a noble silhouette with eyes deep as the ocean. Headlines read, "The dog who touched heaven and brought back hope. German Shepherd's love defies death. The miracle of room 207. Reporters flooded the hospital, news vans lined the streets, and messages poured in from people of every language and faith. Soldiers wrote that Rex reminded them of courage. Mothers said he rekindled their faith. Children sent drawings of dogs with halos. It was as if one single act of love had reminded humanity that miracles dawn, that always fall from the sky. Sometimes they walk beside us on 4 paws. But fame meant nothing to Rex. Cameras flashed, people applauded, yet he never barked for attention or wagged for praise. He stayed by Noah's side, watching him breathe, eat, sleep, guarding him with a quiet dignity. Even when Emily tried to take him home, Rex would look back toward the hospital doors, unwilling to leave. Sarah, his handler, said softly, "He's not done yet. He still has something to finish." Weeks turned into months. Noah's recovery became a symbol of hope, inspiring hospitals to allow therapy dogs in more wards. Entire charities formed in Rex's name. One foundation began sponsoring therapy animals for terminally ill children, calling it the Rex Program, Paws of Hope. Everywhere hearts opened. People began to believe in goodness again, but behind all the headlines and praise, something even more profound was happening. Emily often found herself watching Rex and wondering, what did he see that day? What made him walk straight into Noah's room, as if called by something higher? She couldn't shake the feeling that there was a deeper connection, something beyond coincidence. One evening, when the hospital finally discharged Noah, a small ceremony was held in the garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Reporters gathered, but everyone fell silent as Emily carried her baby outside. Rex sat proudly beside them, his fur glowing in the sunset. The crowd clapped softly, tears rolled down faces. Emily looked at Rex and said, voice trembling, "You didn't just save my son, you saved all of us." Rex tilted his head, eyes glimmering, and in that quiet moment, everyone felt it. The invisible bond between the boy and the dog, forged not by chance but by something far beyond human understanding. After the celebration, Rex's visits to the hospital continued. He walked through wards filled with suffering, bringing calm wherever he went. Cancer patients smiled when they saw him. Lonely elders whispered prayers over his head. Parents of sick children hugged him and said thank you, though words never seemed enough. Then one cold morning, Sarah noticed Rex was slower. His steps were heavy, his breathing shallow. The vet said he was fine, maybe tired, maybe aging faster than expected. But Sarah knew better. She saw the same quietness in his eyes that she'd seen before Noah's miracle, that deep, soulful knowing. Rex still visited Noah every day, though now it was Noah, a healthy, giggling toddler, who played with him. He'd pull Rex's ears, crawl over his back, and laugh in delight. Emily would sometimes catch Rex looking at the boy with that same gentle intensity as before, and her heart would ache with gratitude and fear, as if he knew his time was running short. One evening, as the family sat by the fireplace, Noah fell asleep in Rex's fur. Emily smiled and whispered to Daniel, "They found each other in another world, and they'll never be apart again." That night, when everyone slept, Rex stood up quietly, walked to Noah's crib, and nuzzled his tiny hand one last time. Then he lay down beside him, his breathing slowing, his eyes soft and peaceful. By morning, Rex was gone. When Emily found him, she didn't cry right away. She just knelt beside him, touching his fur gently, whispering, "You did your duty, my angel." Noah stirred awake as if sensing the loss and reached out toward the still dog, murmuring his first word, "Rex." It was as though life had come full circle. The one who had given Noah life had now passed his on. The world mourned the news, social media filled with tributes, candles, poems, art, tears. People who had never met Rex cried as if they had lost someone dear. Sarah said during the memorial, "He didn't just save one life. He reminded the whole world what love truly means." Emily and Daniel buried Rex beneath the old oak tree in their backyard, the one where sunlight always seemed to fall the brightest. On his grave, they placed a small stone plaque that read, "Rex, the guardian of hope. You came when heaven called, and you left when your purpose was done." Years passed. Noah grew tall, strong, and full of life. He loved animals, especially dogs. Every time he saw a German shepherd, his eyes would light up, though he was too young to remember why. Emily would smile softly, knowing that some bonds don't need memory. They live in the soul. One afternoon, while playing in the garden, Noah stopped suddenly and pointed toward the oak tree. "Mama," he said, "the big dog is here." Emily froze. There was no dog there, only the gentle rustle of leaves. But Noah giggled, waving his little hand. "He says thank you." Tears filled her eyes as she looked at the spot where Rex rested. The wind blew softly, and for a brief second she could have sworn she saw his shape in the light, proud, strong, and peaceful. That night, as Emily tucked Noah into bed, she whispered, "Some angels don't fly, my love." They walk beside us, and when we forget what love means, they remind us. Rex's legacy didn't end with his passing. The Rex Foundation expanded globally, training thousands of therapy animals. Hospitals around the world opened their doors to four-legged healers. And in every story told, every life touched, there was a trace of him, the shepherd who taught humanity that love can conquer even death. Years later, a grown-up Noah stood before a crowd at a charity gala, speaking in honor of the foundation named after his childhood savior. Cameras flashed, people applauded, but his words silenced them all. He said softly, "When I was a baby, I died once, and a dog, an angel, brought me back. I don't remember his face, but I remember how he made me feel. Safe, loved, alive." Rex didn't just save me. He showed the world what one act of love can do. So today, let's live like he did. Let's be the reason someone believes in good again. The room erupted in applause, tears shining in countless eyes. Somewhere beyond, maybe in some peaceful corner of heaven, Rex's tail wagged, slow, steady, proud. And in that moment the story came full circle, the dying baby who lived, and the dog whose love never died.